Hey everyone, Doug here from B&H. I gotta say, technology moves pretty fast. Just a few months ago, Blackmagic announced the follow-up to their Pocket Cinema Camera, the Pocket Cinema Camera 4K. Well, now we have the Pocket Cinema Camera 6K. So what's new with the 6K version? Well, physically, it's mostly the same as the earlier 4K 4/3 version, but of course, the biggest difference is the Super 35 sensor inside. Because Blackmagic is using the EF mount here, the mount itself is farther away from the camera body, making up for the flange distance in what is traditionally a mirrored system. Other than that, you have the same connections such as HDMI, headphone and mic jacks, DC power, mini XLR, and USB-C, which just like the 4K version allows the camera to record externally to solid-state drives. In-camera recording can still be done to both CFast and high-speed SDXC cards. So naturally, we spent the last few days taking it out around New York to grab some real-life footage. Everything was shot in Blackmagic RAW onto CFast cards. We used a range of compression settings from 5:1 to 12:1, depending on the card speed. Now, the first thing you notice is the sheer image quality. Razor-sharp details, subtle shades of color, and an overall very natural-looking image. That's certainly always been the case for Blackmagic's cameras, but as a matter of fact, I can tell you as a user of the very first Blackmagic Cinema camera, it's fascinating to see the difference between then and now. Since the 6K camera brings back the EF mount, the two Pocket cameras ironically now kind of fill the position previously occupied by the original Blackmagic Cinema camera. Of course, there are still some quirks to working with it. The screen is gorgeous and generally gives you a good idea of exposure, even if you expose by eye. Not that you should do this outside, folks. The good news is that being a RAW camera, you can save a lot of detail from these shots in post. I gotta say, seeing a video get pushed and graded the same way you would with a still image never gets old. Blackmagic's latest Generation 4 color science is built in, and even out of the box, skin tones look great and highlights are handled exceptionally well. Being a Pocket camera, there are unfortunately no NDs here, but thankfully any variable ND works, and there isn't any IR contamination to worry about. Now the one thing I will say is that physically working with the camera can take a bit of time to figure out. There's kind of a learning curve here. A lot of the menus are purely touch-driven on the monitor, and the only wheel you have is the iris control on the front. Some of the menus could use a little rethinking in my opinion, but the camera is generally so focused on just capturing good video that there isn't too much you need to actually configure. In that way at least, it really is a cinema camera. Battery life could also be better too. The camera uses Canon LPE6 batteries, which unfortunately don't last too long. Like the original Blackmagic Cinema cameras, an external power source is highly recommended. Fortunately, Blackmagic does now offer a separate DC cable pack that lets you easily adapt almost any power source you want, including DTAP and 2.5mm barrel connections. The new Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 6K is a fascinating tool. The picture quality, especially at this price point, is simply unrivaled. And the flexibility of RAW, though not always necessary, is wonderful to have. And don't forget, it shoots the ProRes as well, so you still have an easy, high-quality option to work with. Though it works a bit differently than a traditional camera, it's really nice to see the biggest issues of the earlier cameras ironed out, making this a potential workhorse camera for commercials, cinema, and other high-end video. That's it for the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 6K. This is Doug with B&H, and I'll see you next time.